we're going to look at Matthew and how Matthew viewed Jesus dying on the cross. Now, I know that this topic is a little bit somber and a little bit, I guess, depressing, but this is something that was very exceptional. Because here's the reality: when it comes to Christianity, when it comes to the reason why there is a church in the first place, two major things, I guess three major things needed to happen. But those two major things were Jesus needed to die. Jesus was a perfect man, 100% man, 100% God, but he was perfect. And he had to be perfect, and he had to die. Now, a lot of people don't realize this, but if he didn't die, then we would not be saved. There would be no point in coming to church. We'd be wasting our time even being here today. Okay? That is a critical point. We believe that Jesus, when he died, that he took our death, the death that we were supposed to pay, both physically and spiritually. We're supposed to die a physical death, which we still do. Some of us, we're all going to die. Right? We're all going to die. Some of us sooner than later, but we're all going to die a physical death. But we're also supposed to die a spiritual death, which was to hell. And when Jesus died, he didn't just die physically, but he died for us spiritually as well. But here's the other part. If he didn't rise again from the dead, then it would have been useless too. Because anybody can die. Anybody can die, but not everybody, anybody can rise again from the dead, especially on their own strength. There's been only one man recorded in history that has been able to raise himself from the dead, and that's Christ. Okay? So, knowing this, we're going to read this. I'm going to read this passage from Matthew. It says this in verse 46. Now the 6th hour, there was darkness over all the land until the 9th hour. After the 9th hour, Jesus cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That is, my God, why have you forsaken me? So the bystanders hearing it said, this man is calling Elijah. One of them at once ran and took a sponge, filled it with sour wine, and put it on a reed and gave it to him to drink. The others said, wait, let us see whether Elijah will come to save him. Now, just a side note, people think he said Elijah, but he was actually saying Eli, and it sounds very similar. That's why a lot of people thought it was Elijah. Anyways, it says this, and Jesus cried out again with a loud voice and yielded up his spirit. And behold, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom, and the earth shook. The rocks were split, tombs were opened, and many bodies of the saints who had fallen asleep or were dead were raised. And coming out of their tombs after his resurrection. So when Jesus rose again, there was other people that rose with him. Yeah, nobody really recognizes that part, but there's other people that rose again with him. And then it says this, when the centurion and those who were with him, keeping watch over Jesus, saw the earthquake, what took place, they were filled with awe and said, truly, this was the Son of God. So there was something that happened that was so amazing that even those who put him on the cross said this was the Son of God. Okay? Now, it says that on the 6th hour, there was darkness. 6th hour is actually 12 o'clock, 12 p.m., noon, lunchtime. Our time, 12 o'clock, okay? Well, I guess their time would be 12 o'clock. We would be something else. But anyways, 12 o'clock p.m., there is total darkness. Now, I don't know if you guys ever gone outside. Even when it's cloudy outside, even on the worst storms, you can still see, right? You can still see. And what it says in Scripture is that there was darkness all over the land. Now, it's not like they said there was a solar eclipse. It doesn't say that, there was like this magical thing that happened. It says that there was this unknown act of God of where there was total darkness over the land. Total darkness. Now, there's something that comes along with darkness. Would you agree? Now, anybody scared of the dark? Okay. 2 honest, 3 people? Wait, I'm scared of the dark. Luke is terrified of the dark. When he wakes up in the middle of the night, he sprints over to my room. and we tell him to sprint back. No. He sprints over. There's something about darkness that has this presence and evil to it. You ever watch a scary movie before? Who's ever seen a scary movie before? Who's ever seen it with the lights on because it's so scary? You guys ever do that before? And you're like, I don't want to watch this in the dark. There was this special. Anybody see The Grudge? No? Okay. Don't watch it. It's scary. Oh, Thomas did. There was a special edition of The Grudge in Japan. Okay? Special edition of The Grudge. So people who've seen The Grudge, they go to see this special edition in Japan. And so they're in the theater, they're watching the movie, and like the movie's already halfway over, and they're like, what's so special about this? Right? What special edition of The Grudge? And so, you know, they're just watching, and one by one, throughout the theater, you hear people just screaming, like, ah, right? And what was happening was, some of the staff had drilled holes underneath all the chairs, and they were grabbing people's feet. Right? At the scary moments, they'd be grabbing their feet, and like people were screaming, ah! Special edition, only in Japan. Something about darkness represents evil. Like, if you think about it, we call Jesus the light. We call Jesus the light, so there's this moment when there is darkness. What does that represent? I think for a lot of people, it represents this evil presence, this evilness that is happening, right? Where Jesus is taking the weight of the world, all the sin, all the crap, all the murder, all the lies, all the, whatever you can think of, and he's carrying that, and it's all kind of absorbed on this kind of one night, and there's darkness to represent this major evil event happening. And then Jesus cries out, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, meaning, my God, why have you forsaken me? Meaning, we talked about this last week when Jesus was thirsty. He was thirsty after God. That there was this separation between him and the Father. And this is what happens, that God turns away, the Father turns away and leaves him. When I think about what the most horrendous thing that parents could do to us. You ever get in trouble by your parents? Who's ever got in trouble by their parents? Right? I thought one of the worst things that my parents could ever do, so they used to hit me with a stick. It had my name on it. As if they couldn't get more creative, right? And I was like, man, that's pretty bad. And then one day, they came into my room and they said, Sam, we're not going to hit you today. We just want to let you know that we're disappointed. Just hit me instead. But do you know who's ever gotten the I'm disappointed statement? Who's just like, it's like gut-wrenching, right? You know there's something worse than that? Something worse than the I'm disappointed statement. Something worse than that. I had a roommate when I was at Tyndale, and we shared the same room. And one of this was bad, but I tortured him so bad. And this one day, I had this full can of Pringles, and I chucked it in the air, and as it landed on his groin, I heard the screaming, right? And this is what he did. This was the worst. I still remember it to this day. He chose not to say anything to me at all. He wasn't angry. He wasn't disappointed. He chose to say nothing to me at all. I would be responding and be like, right? It's actually the worst. I'd rather have people yell at me, than not respond to me. It's one of the worst experiences that someone can. If you want to really, disassociate with friends, you don't talk to them, right? You just ignore them. You ignore it. It's one of the worst things that you can do. I'd rather have people yell at me and then we duke it out. But to ignore you, to put you aside, to not even think about you, is one of the worst things ever. And this is what I think about when it comes to hell. When it comes to hell, we all think about fire and pain and brimstone. And I thought, I'd rather have fire and pain if I have a friend there. Or if I have God with me there. Right? I'd rather have that. I actually think when we think about hell, what's the worst thing that God could do is say, you know what? You're on your own. Nobody around you, just you, for the rest of eternity. That's the worst thing ever. Don't you think? To be ignored for the rest of your life. Imagine being alone for the rest of your life. So I can't imagine for Jesus, who's been with the Father his whole existence, to be separated. It must have been excruciating. We have never experienced that yet. And I hope that we never will. I hope that we never will. When it finally comes, Jesus says, this is it. It says that he gives up his spirit. And there's something incredible that happens. Something incredible that happens. It says that in the temple, the curtain was torn in two. Now this curtain, it was big. It was 60 feet high and 30 feet wide. It wasn't just like this small little curtain, it wasn't like a door. It was huge. 60 feet wide, 30 feet wide, 60 feet high. And it was woven together and was built to be durable. It was built to be durable. It was huge, but it was built to be durable. So when it says that the curtain tore in two, people would notice. It's not like, oh, there's a rip. No. It tore in half. People are going to notice that. People are going to know that it tore in half. Not just someone came in with a knife and just, people are witnessing this thing tear in half. And you're wondering, why does this temple curtain tear in half? It's for this reason. Beforehand, we actually had a high priest having to go in what was called the most holy place. Once a year, this high priest could go into this most holy place. And they considered the most holy place because they believed that's where God's presence was. And what they would do is they would tie a rope around that high priest because they believed that if he was the wrong person or if he had done something wrong, that God would kill him because he's in God's presence. So they would pull him out with a rope. And this curtain tears. And the reason and significance behind that is for this reason. That now, every single day, we have the honor and privilege to go into the house of God to pray. We can do that whenever we want, however we want. We get to do that collectively because of what Jesus has done. Now, there's something else that happens. It says there's a huge earthquake. Now, Palestine used to have earthquakes, so this isn't not normal. But with the earthquakes, it says that boulders and rocks split in half. Boulders and rocks split in half. And it had to have been so incredible for someone that has put Jesus on the cross, for him to turn and say, surely this was the Son of God. Surely this was the Son of God. It must have been that incredible, that crazy, for there to be darkness, for Jesus to be hanging there, and then for this moment, for the curtain to tear, rocks to be split in half, for this soldier to say, surely this was the Son of God. I think some of us have had those earth-shattering, rock-splitting moments in our lives, but I wish we all would have had. And I'm not sure if you have had that moment in your life where it shook your whole world. It shook your whole world. Where it came to this place where you're like, surely this is the Son of God. I don't know if you've ever had that moment. If you have, praise the Lord. If you haven't, that is my prayer, that you will know that you have the privilege and honor to have something that those in the past did not have, to go to God directly because Jesus has died on the cross for us. The other question I have is this. Have we been living in darkness? And what I mean by that is this. I think we all have secrets, right? We all kind of have secrets. And with those secrets, a lot of times those secrets come with what? Shame, embarrassment. And so what do? We hold on to those shaming and embarrassment moments in the dark. That's what we do. With those things that we hold on to, we put in the dark so nobody knows about it, so nobody hears about it. Why? There comes embarrassment, there comes shame, there comes, how are people going to look at me? Are they going to look at me different, or will they look at me the same? Let's have an honest moment here. You don't need to raise your hand. I just want you to think about this for a moment. Do you have something that you hide in the darkness that nobody else knows, but you know? Again, darkness represents evil, something that you know that you can hide away, that nobody knows about it, and you're trying to keep it there in the darkness. Think about this. Do you have that? Because here's the reality with Christ. Christ lives in the light. He doesn't want you to stay in the darkness. He wants you to come to the light. He doesn't want you to stay here. He doesn't want us to stay in this space. He wants us to be in the light. Why? Why? You ever have something just eat you alive? Right? A lie or something you've done? It can eat us alive. But what happens when it comes out in the light? There's freedom in that. It's not like Jesus wants you to bring all your stuff in the darkness so he can laugh at you. He wants you to bring all that stuff out so that you can have freedom. So that you can have life. So you can be set free. When Jesus died, he gave us an opportunity to not only be corresponding with God personally, but so that we can be in the light and be free. We don't have to live in the darkness anymore. This is my prayer for you guys. I'm going to ask Bethany to come up. We're going to take a moment. I just want you to think about some of the stuff that I talked about tonight. Okay? Some of those things. Are we living in darkness? Are there things that you're hiding in the dark on purpose? If there are, why? Why? Are there things that we're hiding in the darkness? If so, why? Because here's the reality, is that Jesus wants something greater for you, and that's being in the light. Second thing, if you have not had a ground-shaking, boulder-splitting moment in your life, and it doesn't have to be on such a grand scale, it can happen on a smaller scale that's small to everybody else, but huge for you. If you haven't had that moment, but you would like that moment, I want you to take a moment and pray over that. Pray over that. God, I want an earth-shattering, rock-splitting moment with you. So I want you to take a moment to think about those two things. Am I living in the darkness? Or is there things that I'm hiding? Or is there a rock-splitting, earth-shattering moment that you want to have with me right now? Alright? Take a moment, and if you close your eyes, as Bethany sings, I encourage you guys just to take some moments to reflect. You're welcome to join in with her singing as well, but just take some moments to pray over those things together.